Good evening to you all out there. Welcome into a Sunday night episode, which I guess is regular now. That's what we're doing here. Welcome into another episode of the Parking Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick Carnes. Casey Kinman is on assignment on this solemn day that we hear the late great Jim Donovan talking about Nick Chubb, who will likely sign if he passes his physical. He'll likely sign with the Texans tomorrow in a move that we knew eventually was coming. And no matter when, how, all of that stuff, it was going to suck. So even if you don't if I understand it, I truly, and I put him back up on the wall above me, and that's why I moved off to the side that it could be there. It just sucks, man. Nick Chubb's not going to be a Brown anymore. Rather you believe he's got a lot left in the tank or not is irrelevant in my personal opinion. It's a time to just remember, man, he was a good fucking football player and he was a lot of fun. And maybe he still is. Maybe he still goes out there and he's great for the Texans, because I really hope he does. He is. But make sure you're subscribed to that YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. Nick, how we doing?
We would definitely appreciate your subscribe and your like. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sad. Like, it's not something that I, even being a homer, talked myself into, because like I knew I was campaigning for it. But like Andrew Berry himself said on the Ken Carman show probably 3 weeks to a month ago now that he felt like the chance of Nick Chubb coming back was decreasing as time went on. And so, I mean, they weren't hiding anything from you, and you don't get much clearer than drafting 2 running backs in the first 4 rounds, I don't think. And so, like, it's not something I was unprepared for, but I guess that just didn't make it suck any less. That's the reality of it. And I'm not changing my header, which is Nick Chubb, and I'm not doing it. And as long as Jacob's okay with it, I have no intention of changing the intro.
Oh, well, I mean, we never changed the intro. Brian, I think you're lying to us, because I see your channel has 18 subs. I don't know.
Bang. Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's go.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying right now. I think you're lying to us. There might be a little sub off going on there. And I might have a couple of other YouTube accounts that I can switch over to and sub to as well.
What a guy.
Yeah, man. Like, I said this kind of in the I said this in kind of the Slack channel, talking to some other people at the OBR, and it's like, I just, like, I think he meant man, but
I think he did too.
I'll accept mom. I'll do it. I'll accept it. He posted a video a few weeks back, or there was a couple weeks, a couple weeks ago, where he was kind of doing some cuts back and forth and stuff like that. And I didn't think it looked very good, and I was kind of disappointed. That doesn't mean that's who's going to be on the football field, because I'm still not going to bet against Nick Chubb. I'm just not going to do it. If anybody can figure it out and come back from a second devastating knee injury, it's definitely Nick Chubb. And it just sucks, because I stand by to this day that was a dirty hit. Don't care what you think. I think it was a dirty hit. It was a low blow, went for below the knee. I don't think he meant to end his career or anything. Like, I don't think he meant the severity of it, but it was a low hit. It was a dirty hit. That's what I think. He was held up and you dove under his knees. It is what it is. It really sucks, because those first 5 years, man, like, and we wanted to talk about our top 5 Nick Chubb moments. And I think that's just what we're going to do. And then we're going to talk about mandatory camp and everything that's surrounding the team moving forward.
Sure.
Again, I know why they did this move. Doesn't matter. Still hate it. I don't, from a football team building perspective, you wanted to reshape that room, get younger. I think Jerome Ford provides special teams that Nick Chubb can't, in terms of being that third running back. I think he's got more juice in his legs than Nick Chubb has left. And so I think that's ultimately why it's probably a decent football move, but it will never feel right for us to see 24. Now, he gets to play with one of my favorite quarterbacks in CJ Stroud. So So there's
And
a
in
little.
tandem with Joe Mixon, that's a really interesting. It's probably the oldest running back room in football.
It's probably going to be up there, but like there was a point where those two were in the same division and they were two of the better backs in football. And Joe Mixon had a pretty good year last year, I thought, for Houston. I thought he played pretty well. He got revitalized down there. Now Nick can go down there and they can kind of work together, maybe turn back the clock of time a little bit. And, you know, if the Browns aren't going to be good, maybe I'll get to see Nick Chubb in the playoffs and Nick Chubb making a run. And that would be pretty cool. I still think the Browns are going to be competitive. I can see them winning 9 or 10 games or whatever, if absolutely everything goes right for them. But like, if they don't, then I'll root for Nick Chubb in the playoffs, man. Like, and so that, you know, we're going to do that. So Nick, okay, go ahead. You got something.
I just want to hit you with this. I just want to hit you with this. We saw a total resurgence in older running backs last year when there was certainly a trend of putting them out to pasture. And it was Alvin Kamara. It was Aaron Jones. It was Joe Mixon. Saquon Barkley's not as old as those guys. Right. But still, you saw a bunch of guys. James Conner is still absolutely electric in Arizona.
Yeah, he is. Well, very quietly, he's still playing really good football.
Yeah. So you see all these guys that are older last year that are really still doing it. And I understand the Texans are in the AFC and they're going to be competing with the Browns, but I'm still going to root for Nick Chubb to do well. I still am. I think he's in a great system, man.
I've always said I'm very intrigued because they kind of remade that system a little bit this year, moving on from Bobby Slowick. So I think he could really be good in that system. I do agree with you. And he's got, CJ Stroud, and Stroud's got some pretty good weapons. I would really like that. If it wasn't going to be in Cleveland, that's kind of where I like him to go. I make my own jersey boxes. Cool shit. Oh, cool, Brian. Brian, you might have to make me one. I might have to hit you up about that.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to. I might have to hit you up about that in my Nick Chubb one. We may have to have a conversation.
How good would that look behind you in a frame and some type?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I always wanted these to be in frames, but like they can be expensive and it can be hard to find somebody to do it. So like I just hung them up on. They're literally they're hanging on little thumbtacks. They're on clothes hangers, and the clothes hangers like. He said, "What you mean jersey boxes? And how much do they cost?" That's Jeff's immediate reaction in the comments. So we're going to talk about our top 5 Nick Chubb moments, and this is a little bit off the cusp. I can do that. They're 4-inch deep with glass front. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have a conversation, Brian.
Let's talk, Brian.
Brian, will you? Is my email anywhere in the? I don't
think so. You could DM Barking Browns. That could work.
Yeah, if you're on Twitter, Brian, he's on Twitter. I've talked to him. I think I've talked to Brian on Twitter. If you see me or the show's account or anything on Twitter, could you DM us? And
please do.
If you don't, that's all right. We'll get connected. We'll find a way to get connected.
Right.
Anyway, this is kind of off the cusp because it just happened, and I was thinking, let's do top 5 moments. I'm going to write up a top 5 Nick Chubb moment tomorrow morning. Emails on his channel. Okay, got it.
Perfect.
Got it. I'm going to write it up for the OBR tomorrow, and I'm really super excited that they are allowing me to be the person that gets to do the top 5 Nick Chubb moments for the Orange and Brown Report. So I'm super excited to get to do that up. And so what I say tonight might be a little bit different than what I say in the morning because I'll have had some time to sit on it. But we'll talk top 5. And I'm not going to put my top 5 in any order right now because I don't want to try to do that. Like, this is number 1 and this is number 5. I'm just going to give you my 5 favorite moments. And then I'll sort out the order later. And the first one was when he showed. That's a good one. That's a good one, Ben. We'll bring that up. Go ahead and bring that up for Ben. His number 1 moment was by far when he played Brady in Tampa his final season. I was sitting in the end zone when he ran us in for the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Yeah, that was a great moment. I'm with you. I think if I'm leaning towards this one being my favorite moment, but I know it's definitely in my top 5. And that's when he showed the complete incompetence of Hugh Jackson by getting over 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on 3 freaking carries
Yep.
against the Raiders. And Hugh still was like, I'm not going to play Nick Chubb. Carlos Hyde till I die, baby. And John Dorsey's like, I got to trade this dude because he's just not going to listen. Like, there's just not, like, Hugh's not going to listen. But, like, that moment, like, that was his, like, hey, I am the real deal. Like, look at what I can do. If I get a seam, like, I'm fast, I'm strong, I've got great vision. He's probably, for me, that I've watched in my lifetime, best vision I've ever seen, because he is a cutback artist. Like, in those first 5 years, it was just beautiful artistry to watch him find cutback lanes and find extra yardage and switch directions. Yeah, I do still laugh about that too, Jeff, that Dorsey had to force Hugh by making a trade. And
let me give you one, Jacob.
Good.
Let me give you one. All right. So number 5, and I'm going to piggyback off because it feels right to start with like the early part of his career. So one of my favorite Nick Chubb moments was as a rookie, he rushed for 1,000 yards. Now he didn't keep that 1,000 yards because he had a loss of yards on the subsequent play, but I'll never forget that he hit that 1,000-yard mark. Baker Mayfield had set. So Nick Chubb rushes for 1,000 yards as a rookie, and Baker Mayfield sets the rookie touchdown record as a rookie. And you just looked at that tandem and said, yeah, this is going to be our offense moving forward. And it was such an exciting and hopeful feeling that, especially coming off of 1-31, was just surreal at the time. And so I don't care if Nick didn't officially get 1,000 yards as a rookie. I saw him get 1,000 yards, and that was a damn good moment.
If you want to be technical, he had 1,100 total yards.
There you go.
Because he did have 149 receiving yards that year. He finished with 996 rushing yards, and I know that by heart. I wanted to look up to see his receiving number. That's why I pulled that stat up while you were talking, but I knew it was 996 because I remember the subsequent. He also was going to lead the league in rushing in his second year, and then he had a couple bad carries at the end. And Derrick Henry decided to go for like 300 yards to pass him on that final week in 2019. So that was one. I think the one that really made me excited about him and Baker was a game in 2018. The 98, was it 92 yards against Atlanta or 98 yards? I think it was 98 yards, wasn't it?
That's the longest Browns rush in their history, I think.
It was over 90 yards, but like that one, when he got out and really was able to show that, like, yeah, that knee was not affecting him. He had another gear that he could go to, and he took off down the sidelines and he went over 90 yards for the longest rush in Browns history. And I just was sitting there like, oh man, like this guy, he could be special. Like, he had so many moments as a rookie, and he ended up being very, very special. And yeah, dude, that run against the Falcons, that's definitely up there for me.
I'll give you another one. I remember so Nick Chubb, this is I think it's 2020, because Nick Chubb gets hurt against Dallas, and he subsequently comes back, I think like 4 or 5 weeks later against the Texans. And in his first game back, I don't think his numbers were like stellar, but he was really good on a couple of game-sealing runs where the Browns really needed him. Well, time's ticking down, and Nick Chubb breaks away a run against the Texans to seal the game. Could have gone in the end zone and given Houston a chance to get the ball back. Instead, goes out of bounds, gives up the touchdown for himself to guarantee his team's win. And the Browns, as selfless of a player as you'll find.
And so many sports bettors lost their mind because they did not cover when he was out there. And him being hurt in college led him to us, and him being hurt led him away from us. That's a tough one. There were some bettors out there that were very, very upset with Nick Chubb that day, and it was rather hilarious, to be completely honest with you. That was a great moment. The stiff arm into oblivion against the Eagles in that rainy, sloppy game that same year that he had that run against the Texans. That was a 2020 run where he took a grown man and embarrassed him in front of his family on national TV. It wasn't a primetime game, so it wasn't like primetime national TV, but you get what I'm saying. A lot of people saw that. And that, what I loved about that game too was it was so rainy, he took his gloves off. So he did it like barehanded, but there was tape around all of his, it just looked badass, right? Like he was just, get the fuck out of here. And he just put him on the ground. And I gotta say, man, like that was one where it was like, yeah, man, like Nick Chubb's a grown man. You better bring your lunch pail with you if you think you're going to take him down.
I'll give you one because once upon a time, the Cleveland Browns had a head coach who was drawing plays up on game day in the dirt, throwing out the game plan
Sunday morning,
and just letting the offense go, which Nick Chubb in that year almost still won the rushing title, as Jacob mentioned.
He had almost 1,500 yards.
Bizarre. But Nick Chubb goes for the hat trick. Okay, so this is a game. This is a season when the Browns win like, what did they win that year?
6-10.
Yeah, they were 6-10, so they win 6 games. But they go to Baltimore when they had been floundering, and Nick Chubb goes for 3 touchdowns, like 182 yards. There's that signature picture where he's carrying the ball. Baker Mayfield's got his
yeah.
arms
Baker ran
out.
with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he just houses, especially against Baltimore, where
who only lost 2 games all year.
Right. That was a hell of a Baltimore team, and it's one of the few times I can remember where I watched a Browns running back just take the team on his back and say, "No, we're winning this game," and it's because of a running back, and that was one hell of a day.
And that when he gets in the end zone and does the airplane,
hell yeah,
did the airplane as he went in the end zone, and I think that was some of the, I don't want to call it showboating because it's not, but that was something that Nick Chubb would probably call showboating.
Yep.
This is not my fourth moment. I just want to say this moment. I loved every time he was mic'd up because it's just him breathing. It's just him breathing and other people talking to him. It's just him going on there and be like, and then like Kareem would come up and be like, "Attaboy 2-4," and he's like, "Yeah." And then I always remember that moment between him and OBJ where OBJ is like, "Oh man, I want a touchdown. I just want to score a touchdown." And he was like, "I just want to win." And you're like, "Yeah, that's Nick Chubb, dude." Like, dude didn't give a shit. Okay. 2 years ago. Yes. He had a touchdown against the Chargers in Cleveland where he's on the sideline and there's like 3 Chargers. And he slips around them, accelerates, and then cuts back inside, stops, and then accelerates down the middle of the field. And I'm like, and I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. Like, I know everybody knows that moment. But I remember my emotions watching that play. I'm like, because it was like, I think it was a 3rd and short or a 4th and short. And it was like 4th and 2, 3rd and 2. He didn't need a ton of yards. And you're like, oh, I don't know if he's going to get that corner. He gets that corner and he gets like 7 or 8 yards. And you're like, okay, cool, whatever. It ends up like a 30-yard touchdown or something of that nature. Like it was an explosive play. And it was just, that was one of those, everything about Nick Chubb was on display, like that made him great, was on display in that particular play where the acceleration, the vision, did he stiff arm somebody to the ground on that one too? He might have.
Yeah.
And so it was everything that he brought to the table in one run. If you're a Texans fan and you're saying, "Hey, what's the absolute best we could get if Nick Chubb is who he used to be?" That's a play I would go watch. Like that's a play I would go watch and go, yeah, like that is everything. The power, the vision, the stiff arm, the acceleration, the ability to stop, because he was running full force and he stopped essentially and changed direction and then went full force again. And there are so many Nick Chubb plays where I'm just like, how'd you do that? How the hell are you in the end zone, Nick? Like, how did you do that? Like, there's just just so many unhuman moments from him as a runner.
I'll tell you what, man. That's a damn good moment, and I'll give you another one. I remember in 2020 when the Browns were in a win-and-in situation against the Steelers. The Steelers had already clinched the division, and they weren't trotting Ben out there or TJ Watt, if memory serves. But you still had that, like, just so you said to yourselves, you know, oh, the Browns should beat this Benless, TJ Wattless team at home to go to the playoffs. But it's like you still have that nervousness because it had been, I think the last time they had made the playoffs was 2003 at that time. In 2020, so it was like the 18th year. And Nick Chubb starts that game with some kind of run around the right end. I remember he goes right, and he houses it like right from the beginning. So it like everybody, I feel like collectively exhales. And
Yes.
and in truth, I remember this stat. That was the longest Browns touchdown run against the Steelers since Jim Brown had done it. It was like a 60-some yard house call. And it was just, I feel like it set the tone for the Browns that day because the game ended up being really close, even with Mason Rudolph and without TJ Watt. And it's like without that, Nick Chubb, the offense struggled on the day as a whole, but Nick Chubb breaks that touchdown run early. I feel like it gives them confidence, and it also just gives them that cushion that they needed to ultimately get in the playoffs and beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
You know, I wasn't sure what the fifth one I was going to highlight was because there's just so many damn ones. That's why I'm glad I'm not writing this OBR piece until tomorrow because I got all night to think about it, right? Like I'll write it in the morning and I'll get the clips and I'll put them in there for everybody to enjoy. Oh, yes. Ben's got one. One of my favorite moments was Halloween night versus Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. They just brought out heavy personnel and ran it down there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we do. There really wasn't a lot of secrets. Nick Chubb had some big games against Cincy. He really did. He got up for those games a lot. The last moment I've got, and this might actually be number one. It's the screen pass for a touchdown against the Steelers in the playoffs because they get up 35-0. It ends up being like 35-23 because, you know, the Steelers, they're not going to go quietly in the night. And they get up, and Alex Van Pelt calls a screen pass to Nick Chubb. And when you see him catch that pass and his blocks you can see that the blocks are getting set up, you're like, he's gone. Any other running back? Maybe not, but you knew in that moment what that moment meant and who Nick Chubb, the player, was. So you knew, like, that's it, man. Nick's house in this, dude. Like he's going to, and he does, and it effectively didn't completely put the game away. The Browns defense needed to make some plays, and they were able to make some plays and slow down the onslaught of the Steelers as they were trying to make a comeback. But that was the moment where it put it back to double digits in the fourth quarter, and you were like, "Hey, we're gonna win this game." Like we're going to win this game. Like, and yeah, Ben, I think that's why it's the biggest play from him, for me, at least, and probably for you, was like, that was a moment that it's like the playoff night's done. And it was against the Steelers at their place. And I know fans weren't there, but like, that was a really big moment for everyone in their fandom. And Chubb will always have that moment.
Yeah, you know what? Well, I'll tell you this. So, you know, the score finishes 48-37, and the Steelers were, because keep in mind, that's the Andrew Sendejo year. That's the year that the Browns secondary was relatively Swiss cheese, and it was a game based on ball control, turnovers, right? Like they were top 5 in the league in turnovers that year, I believe, and they just ran right. And they just ran the shit out of the ball. Like the stats were when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb combined for 200 yards, they were X and O. I don't remember. I think it was like 6-0, something like that. Such a special duo. But so the Steelers really start coming back, and to me that game hung in the balance. The Browns got the Steelers to a 4th and 1, and Mike Tomlin chose to punt on 4th and 1 when the Steelers had been just surging, and you just had that pit.
Oh, I couldn't
dread.
believe that.
Right. You had the pit of dread in your stomach because the defense isn't stopping anything. Steelers are just driving down the field. Noodle arm, Big Ben at the time, is just getting them there. And so they choose to punt. Browns get the ball back when they hadn't been doing anything on offense for the last couple drives. Nick Chubb catches that screen pass and houses it. And from there on out, it was like such a collective sigh of just, we're going to win this game. And no, it's the number one Nick Chubb moment for me without even thinking about it. Because he won us a playoff game.
Yeah.
He sealed that. He sealed that game. It's the only playoff win I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Ben makes a point. I was 31 before that, so I don't really remember 2003 or whatever. Yeah. My first memory is actually Run, William, Run. That's the first thing I remember about the Browns. I don't remember a ton about it, but I remember that moment, and that was their last playoff berth. He said Ben says the 4th and 1 punt was a fireable offense. It was crazy. I have some Steelers friends, Steelers fans that are friends of mine that were not very not happy with that.
That was probably one of the worst calls of Tomlin's career, because I truthfully believe the Steelers were going to win that game if they had converted there. I do, because the Browns weren't stopping them in any way, and Ben was just in that rhythm, and it's like he beat the Browns so many times. It's like you could see it that Ben knew he could beat them, and they punt, and Nick Chubb never gives them the opportunity again.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. It's done. Take that. Suck it. So we'll move on a little bit there. If you guys want to share more Nick Chubb moments and some of your favorites and stuff in the comments, we'll continue to highlight them. We're gonna shift over to talking about some camp stuff and some things I wanted to do for mandatory minicamp is this week. Just like with OTAs, you don't get to know a ton because they're not going to be in pads and doing contact. However, unlike OTAs, we get the media to be there all 3 days. And one thing I've talked about at nauseum, talking about some of the takeaways people have had from OTA practices the last 2 weeks, is the media's been at the 2 Wednesday practices. So 2 out of the 6. So they've only been there 33% of the time. And we don't know what happens the other days. So people will be like, oh, Shadur looks good, or Dylan looks the best, or Pickett looks bad, or Joe looks good. When we're talking about the quarterbacks, we don't know what the quarterbacks look like the day before or the day after either one of those practices. And one thing I do like about mandatory minicamp that will give us a little bit more is we'll get to see all 3 of those days. So we'll get to see the full body of work this week. And we'll be like, oh, if you add up all the days, Flacco was the best. And I've gotten that sense based on the clips, but I think we always kind of knew that. They were just kind of hoping one of the young guys would kind of take over, Kenny Pickett included. But anyway, you just can't take a ton from that. But one thing that has been concerning me that I'm really I'm ready for all the super overreactions. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of them, Ben. There's going to be a lot of them. A ton. A very good ton. But Deontay Johnson.
Yep.
This is interesting because Brad Ward has talked about this over at the OBR on several podcasts. He was in the building for phase 1 and phase 2. There's pictures of him in the weight room and on the field and stuff, not at OTAs that have been open to the public, at least. We don't get injury reports. We don't really get to find out anything that happens on the days that the media is not there because they don't have to report that stuff until training camp. So we don't get any, we don't know. So he's at least been in the building for some of the off-season stuff, and maybe he just felt good and didn't need to be there. It felt like he didn't need to be there or whatever. But it's been kind of odd to me for a guy that's kind of on his probably his last chance. But I think they need Deontay Johnson to be a contributor. I think they need him to be a 500-600 yard receiver, which is a decent chunk. Like that's a decent chunk to get a guy that's 500-600 reasons. I'm with you, Jeff, that there could be a reason. It was weird he was there before and then not now. I'm with you. There could be a reason. We're going to get some kind of I'm with you, Serge. I'm a big Jamari Thrash fan. You know that. But it takes the pressure off of Thrash and Tillman and stuff if there's another proven veteran that can do something. But I'll be interested to see if he's there because it's mandatory. So one thing that I want to see is him there, and I want to see the other guys there just because we get a little bit of a clearer picture. Again, no pads, can't take too much. But with all the top wide receivers and the top corners and the top this and that, you can at least draw a little bit more from the clips that you get to see. So I'm happy to see who shows up and who shows out this week.
Right. I just think Deontay showed commitment coming to the early portion of workouts. And I had thought he came to the last OTAs, but apparently that's not the case because
he might have came on Thursday. He might have been there Thursday, but he wasn't there when the media was there Wednesday.
Okay, because there was some report that like maybe Deontay was on the sideline or something. It was worded weirdly. So, but I'm just going to assume general consensus is that he wasn't there and nobody's disputed that. So fine.
Let me say something to that.
Yeah.
Fred Greetham was talking on OBR Weekly last week, and this is interesting. With the new weight room and weight facility that they built last year, all the exercise bikes that are normally on the sidelines are indoors now. So when some of those guys are just working on the bike for whatever reason, there's a decent chance they'll be doing it inside and we won't know as much. So that's a reach, possible. But it's a possibility. It's definitely on the table.
And I'll tell you what. So I'm gonna look this up live here in action. Elijah Moore stats. Let's find out. Okay, so last year for the Browns, Elijah Moore had 61 receptions, 538 yards, and 1 touchdown. And
that's what you need Deontay to be.
Yeah, I think that's what you need him to be. I agree. I very much agree with you. Now, it would be nice to get more, but if you can get Deontay to be somewhere around that like 600 yards mark, somewhere around that like maybe 2 to 3 touchdowns, okay?
Yeah, I want more than 1 touchdown, but the general range.
Right, yeah. The general range, 60 catches, 60-some catches, maybe
60
70.
catches, 500 to 700 yards. That's kind of where I'd – that's 50 to 60 catches.
Right, because that leads me to believe that it's going to be a productive offense if you're getting that out of Deontay Johnson. And by the way, if you're getting that, because keep in mind, Elijah Moore got like almost $6 million from the Bills, right?
I thought he got 8.
Oh, you might have gotten 8. Okay, so let's just say Elijah Moore does the same thing in Buffalo, right? He's being paid $8 million to do that. If you get the same or similar type of production out of Deontay Johnson, making the veterans minimum, that is a home run signing. It's a home run addition, right? Like I get it. Once upon a time, Deontay Johnson was like 1,000-yard receiver and that type of thing. And I'm not saying that he can't be that in like the absolutely best case scenario for Deontay Johnson, because he's shown in the best case scenario he can be 1,000-yard receiver. However, if you even get medium,
up to five, yes.
Okay, up to 5. If you even get medium results out of that, you are paying 10 times less for Deontay Johnson than the Bills are paying for Elijah Moore, right? And it's a value game, especially when Deshaun Watson's cap number is so big and like they want to get every dollar rolled over to the future that they can. So I love the Deontay Johnson signing, and I really hope he's there and shows that like he wants this, because him being at those initial workouts is important, Jacob. I thought it showed a very good sign.
Yeah, I thought it seemed like he had put his head on straight at least to start things out, which has been the thing. Everybody's like, heck of a player. He can still play. He's still 28, 29, something like that. He's not, 35 or anything like that. Like he's still not far out of his athletic prime, so to speak. So like you're not, that's been my thing, is like if he can keep his head on straight, it usually seems I think Thrash can do some of the things that Elijah Moore did with Joe Flacco. Like some of that stuff, some of those kind of crossing routes and backside things, that letting Elijah kind of work in, because I think Thrash is going to work more out of the slot. But like just kind of some of those quick twitch burst, quick routes, get him in space and let him run. I think he can do some of that stuff. And so I but the only reason I put stuff on Deontay Johnson is I'm just looking for somebody that's actually done it. And sure. I think what we would say is, I think Deontay Johnson at his best has been more productive than Elijah Moore. So if you can get his best, then you won the 1-for-1 swap out, or however you want to call it. But right. I'm not super optimistic, but if he's there this week and he's not missing a mandatory camp, barring him being hurt or he's having a baby or, something that's an excusable offense, like barring something like that, I'd really like to see him there. Ben brought up a good point here that I wanted to talk about DeWand, not that one, the other one.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second here.
Here we go. Best takeaway so far is DeWand looks like he lost a lot of weight. Yes. So he said he has ratcheted up his nutrition plan. That's been what it's been about. He has lost over 20 pounds of fat, is what he said. I think he looks like he lost more than that. I think he's not.
I agree.
I think he's not giving himself enough credit, because he said 20 pounds, and I'm like, I see like 40. It's
significant. It's not like a oh, you might notice that if he stands the right way or whatever. It's like, oh, okay.
I lost about like 20 pounds, 20 pounds. And you can only really tell it if I shave, because I don't have as big of a double chin anymore. But like with him, you look at him and you're like, yeah, I know, dude. And I think you're lying to us, because I think you lost more.
I agree. I very much agree.
But yeah, man, that would be awesome. If you can't get much from OTAs or mandatory camp when it comes to offensive and defensive linemen, because they can't really block. I don't know if he was 440, but he was 400.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. But your point's made, though.
The point's valid, yes. You can get much from offensive or defensive linemen because you're not really blocking. And there's no contact, and you're not tackling, and all this other stuff. And you're not even like actually trying to hit the quarterback. You're just trying to flush him around. Slim Thanos. That's a good one. But that's what you wanted to see. That's what you wanted to see. You needed to see that. So yeah, I agree with you that is a big thing. That is a takeaway that I think is significant from a period of time where you just don't get a lot of significant takeaways, because we talk about how the quarterbacks have looked. A lot of these quarterbacks, especially, once you're talking about what the rookies are getting mostly, and what Shedeur is getting mostly, well, really both him and Dylan, what they're getting is against a lot of players that are not going to be in the league or be on rosters. Now, they're also throwing to players that aren't going to be on rosters at times. So that's also relevant to put out there. But I just don't think those things are, and I don't think any of that changes in terms of what you can glean from those aspects of mandatory camp. It's just nice to have an idea. Is there going to be a headache, or is everybody going to show up? Is there going to be a contract? You know what I mean? Is there going to be some drama about somebody not showing up to something that's mandatory? That's like a hurdle in our heads as Browns fans that we need to get over. And so like we get that in 2 days on Tuesday. But I like being able to see consecutive days of practice. Expect to see more of the same. I think all of these quarterbacks have had their moments. I think that's absolute. I think that's one thing you can take away, that all of these quarterbacks have had moments because we've seen clips. Now, how is that a large amount of what they're doing are good, or a large amount, or is that just those are the only good plays? I don't necessarily know, because we only got, but we're going to get a better idea to see if any of these quarterbacks can, string together 3 good days. Whoever it's against, whatever, but that might give us a little bit more of an indication. Again, don't take too much from these days. But what I do think you should take from these days is have fun, man. Just enjoy that you get to see this stuff, because it's been a long off season. So that was one thing I wanted to tell people, to temper expectations on what they see and not to overreact on OTAs, but at the same time, absolutely be excited that you're getting to see this. You should absolutely celebrate that aspect of it.
I'll tell you something I think is exciting. Okay, Quinshon Judkins is most known for his physicality, his tackle breaking, that type of thing.
Dude, that cut was nasty.
So let me talk about that a little bit, because when they were comparing Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, it's obvious. I'm not going to slander Travion because he has that breakaway speed that
he's faster. He's more explosive.
Right. No, I 100% agree with that. However, people are saying like Quinshon is not fast enough to be a home run hitter in the NFL, and he's not shifty enough, and that type of thing. And I understand it's just a clip. Right. But I think Quinshon is shiftier than he's been being given credit for. And when he can, when you're in pads and shorts or whatever, you're not tackling. And you can look elusive. You can look like you've got some type of vision. And now, especially when the Kevin Stefanski's run game has been notably good for a long time, aside from when Nick Chubb went down. And so there's a tradition of that. Joel Bitonio's echoed it. A lot of players have talked about going back to this run-centric football. There's a tremendous opportunity for Quinshon Judkins or Dylan Sampson to take up that mantle and be that running back that is highly effective in what, Kevin Stefanski gets so much credit for. I'm really interested in that, man.
I'm not laughing at you.
I know.
I'm laughing at them about the comments arguing about Mary Kay.
I see the comments.
Jeff's telling MC to go back to bed, and then Brian joined in.
That's a comment. That's a bit of a separate conversation.
Yeah, we're not doing that tonight. But I appreciate the enthusiasm in the comments.
I will share this with you guys. She has me blocked.
Did she unblock you?
No.
I saw someone. I saw someone trying to levy for you to get you unblocked. But
thank you.
It might have been MC actually.
Thank you. But I'll just share this with the viewers. I did get Mary Kay's email. I apologized for it was during the Baker Wars, and Mary Kay was on the side like they're going to trade Baker, and I wasn't happy about that, obviously. So I wasn't exactly as professional as I should be. But anyway, I got Mary Kay's email, and I apologized and asked her to unblock me. She very politely told me to go fuck myself, and I respect that out of her because she takes a lot of heat, man. She does, and she does back
a lot, and it gets really nasty in a place it shouldn't.
Right, I agree. I agree with all that.
I don't think she necessarily told you to go fuck yourself. She accepted your apology, but then politely was like, "I'm not blocking you.
Yeah, you're not getting unblocked." It's like I blocked.
I guess it's kind of telling you to go fuck yourself a little bit. I guess
a little bit.
I guess that's a little bit of what it is.
It's for full reference. It was when Mary Kay said that she was Baker Mayfield said that Mary Kay was a puppet master.
Yes. Because that's what really spurred it was that Baker made a response himself before really any of us did. Yeah. And then she was right the whole time, and we're just like,
sorry, Mary Kay.
Not sponsored, but this is the taste of summer. And my air conditioning's out, so I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream after this.
Your air conditioning's out?
It's been out since Wednesday.
Jesus, we got to get that fixed.
It's pretty hot.
No comments or soup for me. I appreciate the Seinfeld reference, friend.
I do too. Do we have anything else about camp or anything before we get until I start asking you some questions that I stole from Casey on All Eyes on Cleveland?
Right. So no, I actually want to get into something you speculated at, was confirmed, and we'll have more knowledge on, because you had said, just because the media is in there for like the Wednesday of all 3 days of OTAs, it doesn't mean Shedeur hasn't taken any first team reps, and it doesn't mean that he hasn't gotten those opportunities. It's just when the media was there, they didn't see it. And that was later confirmed. So Jacob, you very smartly said that could have happened, right? Yeah. And it did. So personally, I'm really curious now that there is no hiding anything that they're going to do. I'm curious to see if they're going to show Shador getting some of those first team reps, because it would be very strange if he went from getting first team reps during voluntary OTAs to none during mandatory minicamp. Would you not agree?
Sorry, I gotta send this
You're
to
fine.
Casey. Yes, no. Here's the thing. They said he's not getting. It sounds like he really hasn't gotten 11 on 11 first team reps. Yeah, that comment. I'm sending that text directly to Casey so that because Jeff's gonna try to sneak that in because Casey's not here, but I'm telling on you. I'm a narc.
Hey, there you go.
I'm narking. Yeah, and that's why I want to see all three, because it doesn't mean that's exactly one other takeaway. I'm just burnt out on all the crazy. Yeah, man. Trust me. Trust us. There's a lot of that in the comments. It's like, listen, you're a ride or die, man. I'm not judging you for that. It's just a little exhausting sometimes because I'm trying to be honest and genuine in my analysis and takes, and some of them are homer takes, and I know that and I acknowledge that, but I'm trying to be honest and genuine. And if you're going to come at me just because I said something negative, like I don't.
So, Jacob, do you think we're going to get some first team reps from Shador in voluntary minicamp?
Or mandatory minicamp.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would say I would think he would get some, maybe not a lot, but I mean, like, it's time for them to start separating themselves. Like,
agreed.
You do not need to have, like Mary Kay says, they need to know their top two, and they'll know their top two quarterbacks after mandatory camp. I don't think that's true, but they do need to start, like separating themselves, right, and stuff like you got to start, because at some point you've got to start getting whoever's going to start ready for the season, and at a certain point you can't split reps as well as much.
And on top of that, if you're going to make a trade, if you're going to be putting feelers out there, and I see that we've got some discussion about wrist up in the chat, but if you are going to make a quarterback move, because you're not keeping 4 quarterbacks and none of them are getting the practice squad, I don't think. Maybe Dylan Gabriel could. No.
I was told, just to be clear, that Miami was taking him with their next pick. That is what I was told.
Really? Okay.
Now I don't know if that pick was before the Browns' next pick.
Now, to be fair, let's think about that for a second. Tua's a lefty.
Yeah, smaller.
Dylan Gabriel's a lefty. They're both smaller. They're both.
What do you talk about Tua as? A point guard.
Yeah.
Not an elevator.
I could see that making a lot of
Dylan's
sense.
just a smaller version of Tua. I think he's got a stronger arm than Tua does.
He probably does. Honestly, he probably does. And he might be a faster runner. He might be. Tua's not. Tua is like Kyler Murray without athleticism.
Oh, Kyler's got a rocket, though.
That's true.
Kyler's got he's got howitzer. Jeff just explained to MC in the comments what wrist up means and what bling is. Because he said, it's about the bling. And then MC said, oh, okay. Still doesn't make sense. Throw in Samoan. Dude, I'm a big Dylan Gabriel guy.
Hey, don't get me wrong. He had a dot.
He did.
That we saw.
He can rip it, but he's 5'11".
That's tough. That's tough.
Dude, if he was 6'3",
I know.
I would be. Some people are like, he'd be the number 2 overall pick. No, probably not. But he would have been like a second rounder.
Yeah, he would be. Would you not agree that if he was 6'3", he would be firmly in Tyler Shuck territory?
Oh God, yeah. There's a lot. I like Tyler Shuck, or I like Dylan Gabriel. I had Dylan Gabriel ranked higher than Tyler Shuck as a 5'11" quarterback, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Was it close though? Would you say it's close?
I was not the biggest. Tyler Shuck was a day 3 quarterback to me.
Okay. Interesting.
He's like one good season in 7 years. Like Dylan Gabriel crushed him in starts, and he's only 25, not 26.
That's fair too. Yeah.
He only played more than 7 games in his collegiate career one time, Tyler Shuck. One time. And he had his career completion percentage of like 62%. Does he have a freaking large amount of arm talent, Tyler Shuck? Yes. I've never really seen it consistently.
I know this isn't Browns related, but I just want to ask. I feel like the Saints are the favorite for the number 1 overall pick next year. What do you say? Because it'll be fun to look back on.
I'd say that bucket is Saints, Titans, Giants. But
Giants. Interesting. Okay.
The Giants quarterback situation could either be a disaster or insanely fun. Like you got Jameis and Russ, late career Russ, and Jackson Dart. Like it's just like it's like I went and took all of my favorite sodas and poured them in a glass, and I don't know if it's going to taste like shit or be the greatest concoction of all time.
I don't know. I just want to say this to Serge. Like, I just don't know how you could look at the Browns, even with Joe Flacco, right? Because your most recent evidence is still a winning record, right? And a competent passing game. I don't know how you could look at the Browns with Joe Flacco at worst and say they are in a worse roster situation than Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints. Because keep in mind, Spencer Rattler was awful last year. So their best hope is Shuck as it stands.
Here's the thing about them. No, about this PFF ranking. They're talking 32nd roster. There's a text I could show you from our good friend Casey Kinnaman where he said to me, brother, we have seen 32nd ranked rosters. We have seen rosters barren of talent. This is not it. Is the quarterback room a potential disaster? Yes. Because I love Joe, but he's over 40. I don't know how much he can give you. And that's going to be, no matter how well he plays and how long he plays, that will be in the back of my head every snap. Like it will be. The rookies, I think the rookies, and this is a conversation I wanted to have, but I think we can have it a little bit better when Casey's back, just because Casey and I align with this. And I think you do too. I just don't think you and I have had this conversation as in depth. I think that because some people are worried about them keeping both rookies after Joe or Kenny and just keeping one of the vets, and people are concerned, but they don't want another DTR situation. But I think the floor of Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders is significantly higher than the floor that DTR ever gave you. But they still could fall flat on their face. So yes, the quarterback situation could cause them to win 3 games, because we just saw that happen this past year. But when I look at that roster, and Zach Jackson said it really, really well. And Zach Jackson, I think he's brutally honest. And I think he sometimes can be a little bit on the negative side, but like, listen, he's covered this team longer than I have, and I know how it beats you in the dirt. So I don't blame him. Yeah. But he said, he's like, in no way are they 32nd roster. And he said, no sane person would even put them in the bottom 5. And then he said what I thought was exactly where I think they are. He said, I think they're probably closer to the bottom than the top, which could mean 20, 18, something like that.
Sure. Okay.
They're lower than 16. And I think that's probably right. But I do think they have some upside players at the positions you're concerned about. Quarterback, Shadur has the tools to be a dude. I think Dylan can be a solid starter and a great backup. So there's some upside in that room. Wide receiver, Cedric Tillman, last time I saw him look like a really good wide receiver.
I wanted to ask you this. Could Cedric Tillman be an 800-yard wide receiver for you in 2025? 800.
Sure, if he's healthy.
I think he could too. Sure. I think he could too.
That's
I
what he
don't think
looked
that's
like.
crazy, but
He
people
looked like
look at me like I have three heads.
he looked like a dude that he could that could lead the team in receiving over Jerry Jeudy. In that, I get it, just a 3-game sample size, but you're still betting that last version is what we see consistently. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, Jeff, for sure. Like, because I liked Cedric Tillman because we got to see the flashes. I still like Jamari Thrash. We didn't get to see any evidence of it last year. He had, I think, 7 targets on the year. I love the potential of that quarterback or running back room, but it's unproven. I really think this defense is top 5 capable. We'll see if they realize it. If Isaiah McGuire develops more as a pass rusher, because he's a phenomenal run defender already, but if Isaiah McGuire can get to 8+ sacks, and then you add in Malik Collins, and like if we saw a very small glimpse, but like Michael Hall showed you some just insane athletic ability on the inside, like there's a ton of upside in there, and you're banking on that. So I understand why it's very risky. So that's why I understand the national narrative that they are in the bottom half of the league, because they're definitely in the bottom half of the league right now as we sit, because we just need a lot of dudes. Like I said, 9 or 10 wins is a possibility, but that's if everything goes right. Cedric Tillman balls out. Jamari Thrash balls out. The running backs are good. We get a quarterback that's not a piece of shit, both on the field and off the field. Yeah. Things like that. But that's a lot of ifs that need to go right for them to get there. But when you say 32nd ranked roster, that's not a roster that can get to 9 or 10 wins to me. And I think that they can.
I do too. And I want to ask too, because, okay, I understand there's a lot of best case scenario and hope here, but I also think that Mike Woods is an interesting player. Oh, hi, Buster.
Yeah, he left. I put him on camera. He got shy and he ran away.
I think Mike Woods is an interesting player, man. He's a couple of years removed from his Achilles injury now.
He's an interesting camp guy that you watch, because he's at a position where there are multiple roster spots up for grabs.
Right.
Because sometimes you never get a chance, right? Like sometimes you just never get a chance. You could, like, you go into the wide receiver room in Philly. There's not a lot of chances in that room to, maybe at the back end of it or whatever. But like sometimes you go in, like you knew you would never win the running back job here for 5-6 years with Nick Chubb. It's like, now there's opportunities and things like that. And there's opportunities at wide receiver, because I only have 2 that I am 100% certain make I think there's 3 that make the roster. And I think that I'm 100% certain of it's Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, and I think it's Jamari Thrash, because they're not going to give up on him after just one season when he was a day 3 pick, because day 3 picks need some time. So those are the only 3 that I think are set, and I think they'll carry at least 6. They'll probably carry 6. So there's I think legitimately 3 spots up for grabs. And you don't see that a ton in the NFL.
Right. There's a lot of opportunity to seize. And I'm really interested to see, like, if one of these undrafted free agents go flashes, by the way.
Luke Floria is the one.
Right. Like, there's going to be a lot of competition. And also, I think, because there are 4 quarterbacks on this roster that you're trying to evaluate to understand their pecking order, you're probably also more heavily scrutinizing the wide receivers than you would in typical years, because a lot of times you get to the 3rd quarterback, 3rd wide receivers, you're like, whatever. But in this situation, the quarterback room is up for grabs. The wide receiver room is up for grabs. There's so much intrigue in both of those rooms. And I feel like the focus is going to be far more magnified, especially on these guys that, maybe might not get this chance, like you said. Maybe Floria is the guy. Maybe Mike Woods as it comes out of nowhere. I'm not sure, but I know that they're going to get more eyeballs than they typically would.
Yes. Yeah. It's a bigger opportunity than you see a lot of times. Okay. I would love it, man. I love an underdog story. I mean, you've already seen 2 safety undrafted free agents. I know Anthony Bell's not here now, but if a undrafted free agent goes out and balls, and I don't think Floria wasn't even an undrafted free agent, he was a tryout player and then he
Right,
gets signed.
right, which is even crazier.
They also have a wide receiver, a tryout wide receiver that's on the roster right now wearing 31. Please stop that. Please, somebody stop that. Make him change his number. I don't like it. They're probably out of wide receiver numbers, and that's how you get that. I got a question for you. I was going to put you under the microscope with a couple of things that but I'm going to do it quickly. This is something they did on All Eyes on Cleveland that I think is really cool because I like to do these personal things here at the end.
Hit me.
First thing I want to do is say this. What is a movie that you went into thinking you were going to hate it, right? You were just like, maybe your girlfriend made you go to it. Maybe your mom made you go to it, or maybe your dad made you watch an old Western or something like that. What is a movie that you were there kind of involuntary, and then you ended up loving it?
All right, and this is gonna hurt your feelings.
This is funny because you knew I'm very surprised you knew this right away because I had to think about it.
I know this is gonna hurt your feelings, but my sister is a really big anime fan, and she tried telling me about Demon Slayer forever, and I was like, "What's this dumb?" I looked at it and I was like, "That doesn't look fun. This sucks."
It didn't at first. I agree.
So. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So I went to. She was like, "Please, will you go to this anime movie with me? It's only here for like the weekend or whatever. Like a lot of anime movies are in theaters." So I was like, "Okay, I'll go." And then I was introduced to Ren Goku, and oh my god, that man pulled me into Demon Slayer. And eventually, Jacob got really lit the spark himself as we were hanging out one night, which we're going to be hanging out for week 1 this year. I can't wait.
Watching Demon Slayer in theaters, actually.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of Demon Slayer, but no, I really didn't think I was going to like Demon Slayer because I'm not a big Attack on Titan fan, and Amanda swears by it. And I was like, I just don't like this. And so when she told me about Demon Slayer, I was like, I don't know if I like your taste in anime. Went in thinking it was going to suck.
Attack on Titan's fantastic. It's fucked up.
It's just not. It's not my thing, man.
It's fucked up. Wait till you ever get to the end of it and find out how it ends. It's fucked. I hated the way it ended, actually. There was something poetic about it, for sure. For me, man, Frozen.
Oh.
I fuck with Frozen. And Moana. Let's put both of them there. Frozen and Moana. Like, I was like, those come out. I'm at the age now. I was like in my 20s or whatever. Love the Coopers. That's actually really good. I'm with you, Brad. Or Jeff. That's a really good movie. Yeah. But yeah, no, I had to like watch it with my nieces or whatever, like Moana and Frozen, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be brutal, and it was freaking awesome. Both of those, like me and my my corporal Riashi over in Afghanistan, we used to, in the middle of the summer, actually the whole deployment, we would sometimes just sing the soundtrack of Moana while we were at work. Like that's a thing that we did multiple times in the desert.
Oh yeah.
That was a thing we did. Okay. Last one. Desert Island. Only 3 movies you can watch for the rest of your life.
Damn.
What are they?
Okay. Dark Knight. I love the Dark Knight. Heath Ledger is incredible. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Yeah, I love me some Guardians of the Galaxy. It's fun. It's a little upbeat. And first one, by the way, first for Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm buying time.
All 3 of them were acceptable choices because they were all fantastic. But go on.
Wow, this is hard. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
You want me to go?
Yes.
So the first one's a little bit of a cop out because it's a 2-parter. So this is 1 and 2. Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. That was a culmination of 10 years they made movies for 10 years to get to the Infinity War, and then an Endgame being 11 years. And the MCU hasn't quite been the same since then. They've had some bangers. I'm very excited to watch Thunderbolts and stuff coming up soon. I've heard it's pretty good. Some people
Thunderbolts is good.
I'm very excited about Thunderbolts. But that was me, man. Big old superhero nerd for my entire life, and to watch them use just brilliantly woven together a decade of sports movies. And then when Infinity War was here, we knew it when we were building towards it. And a lot of times when you build up those movies, it's just like The Dark Knight for me. When these movies get built up like this, they're massive disappointments. Endgame and Infinity War were phenomenal. They were everything I thought they were going to be and more. I've thought about I might watch one of them tonight, but they're like 3 hours, so we'll see. And then Step Brothers.
I like that one a lot.
Damn it, NC.
My final one is Mad Max, because I had no expectations. So the new movie, well, it's not new. It was released in 2015, something in there. And I went into that with almost nothing, no expectations. And it was just a kick. Oh, but I was going to say Die Hard. All right, it's between Die Hard and Mad Max. I don't know.
Jeff says it's hard for him to leave off the first Avengers because he saw it in theaters 4 times. I actually did 2.
That was an amazing movie.
That was a
Deadpool
crucial
another one. The first Deadpool. Oh,
I'll tell you, I love Deadpool 3 the most.
wow.
I really do, because there was just the nostalgia factor of it all was what really got me, because I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I just am.
One of the John Wick movies has got to qualify as well.
They're definitely just outside the top 3.
Okay.
Because you can just relax and watch a John Wick movie, because he's just going to kill a bunch of people.
Right. He's not going to die, and it's going to be fine.
He's actually, he died in the last one, right?
I don't want to talk about that.
But the new one that just came out, Ballerina, takes place between 3 and 4, so he's in it because it happens before John Wick 4.
I saw that. I got to see that movie.
I totally forgot he died in the last one until someone reminded me of that 2 days ago.
And I want to talk to you about this. So I'm on Max the other day, right? What does it recommend to me? The new season of Peacemaker.
Oh, is it back?
Oh, it's back.
I thought it wasn't back yet. I thought it was in July.
I could be wrong. I might be wrong.
It's definitely coming up. Let me see.
It recommended Peacemaker to me, so I assumed it was a new season, but I'm not positive.
Sometimes they just they want you to rewatch it. No, it's August 21st.
Fuck. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Well, I'll watch Ballerina in the meantime.
Fantastic show.
Oh, yeah. And if you haven't watched Peacemaker, get ready for the new season.
Yeah.
Also, okay, I know Jeff's a wrestling fan here, and Jacob, I know you're a wrestling fan. I've been watching AEW, man. We're talking like early Cody Rhodes. We got Dustin Rhodes. We got Shawn Michaels. We got, Penta, right? I'm watching Darby Allin. All these guys as they're early on before all the WWE stuff.
And Money in the Bank was crazy last night.
I didn't see it. You hate AEW. It's so good. It's so good. I'm just saying.
It's crazy in the back.
I don't know. That's my thought. But either way, thanks for everybody for being here on a Sunday night with us on the Barking Brown Show. And Nick, he's Jacob.
No, you had it right. You had it right.
How?